strong as a bear and active as a panther. His life was lived in daily danger, almost perpetual hardship and exposure, yet he died in his bed at nearly 90 years of age. Chapter 2. Any normal and healthy boy would have reveled in a youth similar to that of Daniel Boone. He was the fourth of 7 brothers, and was born on the banks of the Delaware River about 20 miles above Philadelphia. His place in history can be better remembered than by dates, when you know that he was just 3 years younger than George Washington. When he was 3 years old, the family moved upstate to a frontier settlement that has since become the city of Reading. Here he spent his boyhood and his early youth, and here he took his first lessons in a school that was to help him through all his life, the wilderness. For at that time Reading was a collection of huts situated in a virgin country. People lived in log houses set in clearings that were slowly and laboriously cut out from the forest. They spent their days swinging the axe, hauling and burning the brush and logs, heaving out the snarled and snaggy stumps which were sometimes burned, but more often dragged to the boundaries of fields, where they were set on edge and so formed a fence of many twisted arms and crevices and holes and devious passageways, through which such things as woodchucks or squirrels or ruffed grouse or small boys could slip in a fascinating series of games or escapes. And then the soil must be plowed and planted. Cattle roamed the woods nearby with bells so that they could be more easily found. They must be brought in every night, and while usually they gathered of their own accord, anticipating the reward of a few handfuls of corn, often they must be sought for in the depths of the forest. That was in itself a fine training in woodcraft, for not only must one find the cows, but one must not get lost oneself. The clothes worn were spun and woven on the place. Every item of food and wear, with very few exceptions, was grown or fashioned at home. Never was there lack of fascinating and useful occupation for the little Boones, occupation that not only developed their muscles, but their wits. For one thing was never forgotten. This was on the border of the Indian country. The little settlement of Reading was not near enough the savages' home country to be exposed to the frequent attacks in force, which we in company with Boone shall see later, but it was always in danger of raids and forays by stray war parties from over the mountains. It was settled and inhabited in great part by men who in their youth had fought the Indians. As part of their earliest education, the children were taught caution when out of sight of home, the woodcraft of moving quietly in the forest, of trying always to see everything before affording a chance of being seen, of freezing into immobility and silence at the slightest unknown sound or movement, until it could be identified, was impressed upon them as a mother partridge impresses the same thing on her young. Nor was there lack of opportunity for practice. Plenty of Indians visited the little settlement. They were friendly Indians. That is to say, they were not at war with these settlers, and came on peaceful errands. But as Indians, they were always to be suspected by a brace of small boys hunting cows in the forest. And so very early in life these children became more expert in observation and more skillful in concealment than anybody could possibly be nowadays, unless he had the same training. No more thrilling, fascinating game of I spy or hide and seek could be imagined than this penetration of the leafy dark forest. Every sense alert for every sound and movement, the mind recognizing them instantly. Red squirrel scratching at the bark, towhee the leaves, the rare weird scrape of a leaning tree rubbing another as the wind touched it, the cautious pad of the lynx as it crossed a patch of dead and sodden leaves, the innumerable disguised voices of wind and water, and the cautious conversation of woods creatures. There are 1,000 of them, and they all indicate life or movement, and any of them might be a prowling savage, unless one is so familiar with them that he recognizes them for what they are. And when unmistakably that sound of movement is the savage, stalking confidently along in the forest aisles with head shaven, all but the long scalp lock at the crown, painted from head to toe in the bright colors that indicate peace,